Most new clothing brands are completely delusional and they have no clue just how delusional they are. The CEO of Salesforce, Mark Benioff, said that delusion and self-deception are common amongst entrepreneurs and that they need a strong dose of reality to keep their feet on the ground and to navigate the challenges ahead. Jeff Bezos said that success comes from having a clear-eyed view of reality. I've run several different businesses and worked with thousands of clothing brands, and I can honestly tell you that the clothing brand industry breeds the most amount of delusional entrepreneurs. The close second might be the music industry. People thinking they're going to become like these super famous DJs or rappers overnight, and they don't realize how hard it actually is to make it work. But what I'm going to do for you in this video is share with you the 3 reasons that most clothing brands are completely delusional. And once again, what this is going to help you do is it's going to help you keep your feet on the ground and navigate the challenges ahead. Because unless you're seeing things for the reality that it is, and you know what you're getting into, you'll never be able to anticipate the stuff and you'll never be able to get the results that you're ultimately looking for. So I hope you enjoy. Apparel Success is sponsored by my buds over at BrandCrowd. BrandCrowd's a logo maker tool. You type in the name of the logo that you want to have made, hit enter, thousands of logos will come up. You choose the logo that you like, then you can edit and refine that logo as long as you want for free until it's perfect. This is a Hundo P design I made for my own clothing brand using BrandCrowd. If you're interested, head over to brandcrowd.com/apparel success and you can get up to 66% off at checkout. What it's like from my point of view as somebody who's been in the clothing brand industry for over 7 years is it's like watching a group of people who are going to war and they have no idea what war is actually like, and they're getting all excited, they're super charged up, they're like, we're gonna do this, it's gonna be great, I can't wait to do this. And then once you get to the actual battle, you realize how hard it is, you realize like all the pain involved, all the suffering, all the challenges, just all the trauma that comes with it, that comes with entrepreneurship, and that's basically what it looks like. So I'm gonna share with you the 3 experiences that you're definitely gonna go through as a clothing brand owner that will just burst your bubble, that'll almost be traumatizing for you as a clothing brand owner. And I'm gonna do this for you prematurely in advance to get you ready for this so that you know what you're getting involved with, so that you're not shocked when it happens and completely give up and feel like all of your dreams are done and you're never gonna get the results that you want. No, it's just sometimes the vision that we have in our head for how things are gonna go turns out to be completely different from what it's like when we're actually taking action and in the actual battlefield. The first reason why most clothing brand owners are totally delusional is because they completely underestimate the market competition. And they think that their clothing brand is just gonna be discovered on its own and it's just gonna blow up on its own overnight. And even thinking back to my journey when I first started, I'm baffled why I also did this with my own brand. Like I can remember back before I started my brand being really excited to launch because I figured that if I just posted enough on Instagram and if I just posted enough on TikTok, that it would just kind of take off and explode to like $1 million brand overnight without really having to put much strategic planning into it, much like work into it. I just had this idea that if your brand idea was good enough that people would find it. And this perspective is completely inaccurate with the reality of how the clothing brand industry works. There are so many people starting up clothing brands all the time. There are also so many clothing brands that already have a huge chunk of the market share where people are already trusting those brands and going after those brands. And so all the stuff that I teach on this channel, the stuff about social proof, about getting credibility for your brand, about understanding the value that your clothing brand's offering, all of that stuff came from my own evolution, needing to understand this stuff more and understand why is my brand not getting sales? Why is my brand not taking off? How can I tweak this so that my brand does start actually performing and getting results? And all of this was like a really painful experience for me because as I was trying to market my brand, I'd have this idea in my head of what would work, and then it would just be completely squashed because I wouldn't get any results from it. So I'd have to go back to the drawing board, and it was just that process over and over again. And so I just want you to take on the mindset, if you're first starting up a brand, that all of the reach for your brand, the growth of your brand is going to depend on your actions that you're taking and all of the effort that you're putting in as an entrepreneur. This thing isn't going to just blow up on its own. And even if you did go viral a little bit in 1 or 2 days or something like that, maintaining it and getting people to understand that you're a legit brand and build that brand loyalty over time takes so much more work than you could ever imagine. And it's really important to know that so that you end up putting in the right amount of work to get those results. The second reason why most new clothing brands are completely delusional is because they have unrealistic financial projections. They expect to make $1 million per year for their brand. But what they fail to realize, the part of the delusion here that I want to bring to light, is that they don't realize that in order to make $1 million in revenue every year, You have to have enough inventory that year to sell $1 million worth of clothing. You also have to have the infrastructure set up to be able to handle $1 million worth of orders that year. You also have to have the customer support set up to handle $1 million worth of orders. There's going to be a lot of refunds, a lot of returns and exchanges, and handling all of that through customer support. And even through the back end, like through your fulfillment, is going to be a lot more infrastructure and a lot more supply chain management than you could possibly ever really think of when you first get started. The idea of making $1 million a year sounds pretty nice, but the actuality of what that looks like to build that out, from the team that you'd have to have, the marketing budget, the overhead for inventory, the supply chain management, the networks, the relationships that you'd have to build, is so much more than I think you realize when you first get started. And actually, something really important for you to know if you're just getting started in the clothing brand industry is that the clothing brand space is one of the lowest barrier to entry spaces to get into, meaning, all you have to do is really invest, I don't know, $100 into your first run of t-shirts or hoodies, and you can just start a clothing line. So it's really easy to get into, but once you actually start selling and once you start scaling it up, it becomes one of the most difficult and complex businesses to run on the back end. So it almost teases you with this front end that's like so easy to get started, but the deeper and deeper that you get into it, the more complex, the more difficult it gets to manage it all. And the third reason why most new clothing brands are completely delusional is that they have a complete lack of unique value proposition for their brand. In other words, they have a biased perspective of their brand's value. They think that their brand has value just because they created it, and maybe they thought that they had a good idea. But when you actually look at the bare bones of the brand and the nuts and bolts of it, and you ask, what's the unique value proposition of this brand? What's the unique selling point? What's the competitive advantage? What's making this brand particularly special in the sea of all of the other brands out there? What you end up getting an answer for is like, well, I think it's a really cool name and it's got some nice designs. And there's hundreds of thousands of brands starting up every year. And so the clothing brand owners own biased perspective towards their clothing brand's value and how cool they think their own brand is, how sick they think their brand is, and how much they think people are going to love it, is completely warped and delusional for how the market will actually respond. Like, the market determines how good your brand is. You don't determine how good your brand is. You can think your brand is absolutely amazing, but if you're not getting any sales, if you're not getting any results from it, then the market's speaking and saying, you need to do something more unique, you need to do something more creative, something more different, and something that's appealing to me more, something where I can see the true value in what your brand has to offer. I just want to be real with you for a sec here. What I hope that this video does is, even though it might sting a little bit to see the reality of this clothing brand industry and how difficult it can be, I really hope that it helps you navigate the space better, and that you, while you were watching this, you go, yeah, I could actually see how a lot of people would underestimate the market competition here and how difficult it would be to market. Or I could really see, how people would have unrealistic financial projections or have a biased perspective towards their own brand's value. And then I want you to just look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I overvaluing my own brand and thinking that it's better than it is? And if I am, maybe I have to ask the question, well, how can I improve my brand's value? How can I inject more value into this and make it more different, make it more special, make it stand out more for your audience? And if I can do that for you in all these 3 ways in this video, then it was a job well done. So I really hope that you enjoyed. I spent a full month recording a 100% free clothing brand course for anybody starting up a clothing brand right now. All you have to do to get access is go to freeclothingcourse.com and go through it at your own pace. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.